Hello and welcome to the latest installment of PSG Talking. I'm your host Ed, and on today's show, we're going to be talking all about Kylian Mbappe's return to the PSG squad, Neymar's impending departure from the PSG squad, the relationship between the two superstars, and what we can expect from PSG as the transfer window enters its final weeks. And to help me do that, I'm thrilled to be joined by two PSG supporters, one new and one returning contributor. Up first, it's the newcomer 10, who goes by at PSGNJ1 on Twitter. I ask him all about how he became a PSG supporter before diving into the Mbappe and Neymar news. Next, Lee Davey of TalkSport and Ligon.com joins the show to give his thoughts on the latest news making headlines, as well as his expectations for the season. I had a great time talking PSG with these guys, and I hope you enjoy listening to them. If so, make sure you hit subscribe and leave a comment wherever you download this podcast. All right, without further ado, here's Ten and Lee Davey. All right, joining the show, we've got Ten. I wanted to get your thoughts. Of course, you've been kind of popping into our Twitter spaces, and I've just loved your take on everything, so I wanted to have you on the podcast. But before we get into all the developments of today, and we're recording on Sunday, I want to just know how you became a PSG fan.
Well, first off, thanks for having me. I absolutely love talking about this team. I love this club, and yeah, I'd love to talk a little bit about how I became a huge PSG fan. So, believe it or not, I wasn't much of a football soccer fan until I'd say about 2016, 2015. Um, I met my now wife, who's French, and then I started to, kind of meet a bunch of her friends. And I'm the kind of person I like to be able to have things in common with people, and I'm curious. So I was like, if you love something, I want to know why you love it. So like, her best friend's boyfriend was a really big soccer fan, and then like a bunch of her other friends, they were big soccer footy fans. So I was like, you know what, let me dive into it. So I did the best thing that I knew how, which is buy the video game. So I bought the video game, FIFA, and I just was absolutely obsessed with it, and that's what kind of got me into knowing like the teams and the different players and like kind of the structure, and it really got me into it. I fell in love with PSG because I like to play with Ibrahimovic. And then like I just started following him on social media. I'm like, this guy is freaking amazing, and I absolutely love him. I loved his cockiness and his arrogance, and he was just so good and graceful on the pitch. And then I would watch the French national team. So I was like, you know what, PSG is going to be my team from here on out. And then we got Neymar, and he was just another just incredibly amazing player to watch, and I've been hooked ever since. So that's how I became a PSG fan, and I've been an obsessive about the club ever since.
You mentioned Neymar. We also have to talk about Kylian Mbappé, and I want to start there because big news coming out today. So with Kylian Mbappé, at the time of this recording, Mbappe has been reinstated into the team following, quote, very constructive and positive, end quote, discussions. He'll be available for PSG's next match against Toulouse on August 19th. What do you make of these developments?
I'm sad. I'm really, really sad. This might be the saddest day I have ever had as a sports fan. And I'm not necessarily sad for PSG because I know that we will. I know that we'll find an adequate replacement. I know that we'll continue. I know that in some respects, it's probably overall a better thing for us financially from on the pitch perspective. But I'm just incredibly, incredibly sad for Neymar. One of the reasons I love this club is because of him. I love watching him. He's one of the most talented people I've ever seen in anything. He's just a master of his craft and just so incredibly talented. And the thing that really makes me sad is because I felt like he didn't necessarily, or a large part of the fan base didn't really connect with him for whatever the reason is. Maybe his style of play. We didn't win the UCL. They expect more. I don't know. All the injuries. I don't know. And I think that some of his lashing out or kind of lashing back at the fans has to do with who he is as a person. And I feel like, and this is my 2,000-foot view, that he just wants to be liked. He wants everybody to like him. He's always smiling and joy and dancing, and he wants you to love him. And I feel like he didn't always get that love from the PSG fans, and I feel like it really bothered him and kind of soured him. But I always felt like he gave it everything that he had. I mean, that run that we had in 2020 in the UCL, I felt like he would have died on that pitch for us. Just so many just incredible memories for him, with PSG. And then coming to the realization that he's basically retiring and going to Saudi Arabia is just a whole nother aspect of this that makes it even harder, because it's like, dude, this is still one of the best players in the world. Why is he playing in Saudi Arabia? Why is he retiring? Like, there's got to be somebody who would take him. But that's just really hard to reconcile. And those are my thoughts. It's a really sad story to an incredible, and I just can't believe he's going out this way. If in fact it ends up coming out that way, it's just incredibly sad.
Yeah, and so Neymar will be. It seems like everything that we're hearing is Al-Hilal is where he's going to go. PSG expected to receive a transfer fee of around 90 million euro for him, so much less than the 222 million euro that PSG spent for his buyout. But yeah, it seems like Neymar has kicked his last ball as a member of PSG. He'll be moving on with Kylian Mbappe. So you see him, having these positive discussions. You see Mbappe playing a major role in getting Neymar out. We sort of alluded to it in our Twitter chats, but do you want to just go in and what you think might be happening behind the scenes with Mbappe? There was another report that I saw that Mbappe, since last year, has been trying to push Neymar and Marco Verratti out of the club, and he's finally getting his wish. So just kind of talk about what you think is going on behind the scenes, why Mbappe might be doing this.
Absolutely. I mean, first off, I don't think there's any question that Mbappe wanted Neymar out of the club. I think from their relationship started out really rocky in the beginning. And then I think that it progressed and it got a little bit better. And then it was just like kind of this on again, off again relationship between the two of them. And you could really tell, even at some points last year, that like Mbappe was kind of done with him. You could just see it in his face, like some of the things that he would do. And you could just see like Mbappe, like this guy, like man, I'm so done with playing with this guy. So I definitely think that he had a large role in it. I would not be surprised if Luis Enrique played a massive role in this as well. When we take a step back and we look at what's going on with Neymar, when it was first reported that he might leave, it was almost like he had nowhere to go, and everybody wanted him to go back to Barcelona. It sounded like he wanted to go to Barcelona. And what was the first thing we all heard? Xavi doesn't want him. And then when I take a look at our team versus Lorient and see the discipline and the positioning, the running, the closing down, is it really that hard to believe that Luis Enrique might not want this version of Neymar on his team? I personally don't think it is. I don't think it is that far stretched from reality. And then with him coming off the ankle surgery, how many games would he be able to play? I mean, the guy's never played more than 22 games in the league. That's another thing that's probably going on through Mbappe's head. Like, hey man, I can't even rely on this guy to be there when I need him. He's consistently hurt. And then without him, we just had no chance, versus Bayern Munich. So, it's a part of sports that I don't love, but it is not going to be the first time a superstar got his way. Any sport that you look at, basketball, baseball, American football, if a superstar wants somebody gone, they're generally going to get their way. And I wouldn't say that Mbappe is without his reasons for wanting Neymar to go. It's just incredibly unfortunate that it didn't work out with the two of them, because they're two of the most phenomenal talents in Europe.
Yeah, fantastic talents, and it certainly seems like Mbappe has been. We've all assumed that he wants to leave PSG and that he wants to go to Real Madrid, and he's trying to get back at PSG in some way. But all along, it seems like he's just been wanting to mold the team into what he wants. We remember his "I want more responsibility" speech at the French football awards, and so maybe he's taken that responsibility on, and he's looked around and said, "I can't win with these two; they're not reliable." He made the comments about we need people to take care of their health, and then you have Neymar going to McDonald's, and we know Verratti likes to smoke, so it just seems like those three players didn't really match. And so Mbappe, as the superstar, has been trying to force them out, and it seems he's very close to getting his way. It's a good point that you make. It's something I didn't thought about. Luis Enrique, he knows all about Neymar and what he can bring. How much did he play a role in saying to Nasser, yeah, he's not part of my plans? That's really interesting. Let me ask you about Neymar. Club legend for you? This is something that's been circulating on Twitter. Do you consider Neymar a PSG club legend?
Oh, without question, he's a club legend. There's no argument that he's not. I can't see any in any way that he is not. He cemented himself in the history of this club. Number one, um, when we talk about legends, we talk about people who are going to be remembered and going to be remembered for specific things, specific performances. Did they have an impact on the club? Neymar had an impact on me. Maybe I'm not sitting here with you if it wasn't for Neymar. Um, he is the largest transfer in the history of the sport. He's always going to be in the history from that standpoint. This club has been to exactly one UCL final, and he quite frankly put the team on his back. And I'll never forget him versus Atalanta. I believe he completed 15 dribbles. It was like a UCL. It was like they couldn't do anything with him. And I remember, they were pressing us, and we were just having so much problems getting the ball at the pit. And he just grabbed it and took it upon himself and said, for 90 minutes, he was at their throats. And he was just absolutely incredible. And he had that kind of hockey assist to Mbappe before he shot it over to Choupo-Moting, that action that ended up winning it. He was absolutely incredible. And then I'll never forget in the UCL group stage, we were facing elimination. I believe it was 2020. We went up to Old Trafford, and then he scored like the first 5 minutes, and then he dropped Harry Maguire twice in one action for a second goal. And then afterwards, he said, I didn't come here to go to the Europa League. Like he just put us on his back. And I believe it was his first season or his second season. I'm drawing a blank, but it was. I've seen some people say it's the best League One player season they've ever seen. It was just a joke. Like he was so incredibly, dominant. And he just had just this grace and he got a red card for doing the Neymar flick, the rainbow flick, and and he just brought a whole style and flair. So and like I said, and that biggest thing is just he's won the League One several times. He's won several trophies here, and he did get us to a final. Unfortunately, we didn't win it, but just on that alone, he should be considered a legend. But I think that there's other merits that he belongs that he should be thought of as a legend.
Yeah, I think I responded as like I'm leaning towards yes, he is a legend. I think that if there is an argument as to maybe why he wouldn't be, legends are universally loved. And when you look at what happened earlier this year with the some of the ultras going to his house and telling him to get out, how many? I don't think Spurs fans are going to Harry Kane's house at any point and telling him to get out of the club. So he is a polarizing figure, but I think time will treat him well, and I think the longer the distance gets between his time at PSG to wherever he moves on to next, and however he finishes his career, I think we'll look back fondly upon his goal celebrations, his assists, everything that he was able to contribute to the club. I think we will eventually see Neymar as a club legend, but right now it is some people just kind of go back and forth. He's he is a polarizing player. Even in the media, they talk about all the flopping and the rolling and the antics. And so everyone has an opinion about Neymar, but there's no question about his ability. I wish he wasn't going to the Saudi league, but they are likely the ones who can pay him the money he wants and give us a large transfer fee. There's just no one else in Europe at this point in the transfer window that's going to be able to do that. Ten, let me ask you next. 90 million coming in from Neymar, maybe 50, 60, hopefully a little bit more for Verratti. Kolo Muani is a player that seems like is close to coming in. Would you want PSG to invest in any other positions, any other players that you have your eye on? I know we're only one game in, but where do you see the holes in the squad that need to be fixed?
Well, it's like you said, first and foremost, we have to get Kolo Muani in here. I was actually watching him a little bit earlier this morning. He's a perfect player for us. He does a lot of the things that I feel like we need, and he closes down the ball really well. He's a great presser. He's great at holding up the ball, so he'll help us a lot in possession, particularly against pressing teams, that we have to play in the UCL. So I think that's a very, very crucial pickup for us that we have to close. I think some of the other positions that we have to look at is we have to get more wingers in here, at least one, maybe two, because I guess if you do get Muani in, you can play him as a striker or a winger, and you can kind of have him like kind of flip and be fluid with Mbappe. So you can kind of count him as a winger, and you could also play him as like a second striker off of Ramos. So I would say that would be one. If we can get a Bradley Barcola in here, or an Ernest Nuama, I know we're looking at Johan Bakayoko. If we can get another winger in here, that is going to be really important, because when we're talking about reliability, when we're talking about dependability, that just hasn't been something that you would attribute to Dembele's game. And as we saw in that first matchup against Lorient, if you do not have wingers who can beat their fullbacks, who can put pressure on a defense, teams will just pack it in on us, and we're just getting these half chances at goal. We're not really threatening to score. So I think adding another winger is going to be really crucial. I think what's going to be also incredibly important is I believe we need at least two midfielders. I think that we need somebody to replace the technical ability of Verratti. So whether it's the Croatian guy over at N, I saw that we were linked to him. We've been linked to Mateus Nunes, who's over at Wolverhampton, and they're in financial fair play hell, so they're looking to sell. He's a really, really gifted technical player. So something like that. And then I believe that we need a creative box-to-box midfielder kind of on that left side. So my dream would be Bernardo Silva. I know that's a bit of a pipe dream, but he has not signed his extension yet, and they did say that they were going to. I did see that they had a bid in about 110 million pounds, or 100 million pounds, for Lucas Paqueta, who's over at West Ham, and he's another midfielder. So they might be more willing to let go of Bernardo Silva if they do get in like Adaku and then Paqueta as well, and they have some replacements. But Bernardo Silva would be it would completely change this team. So those would be the areas that I would look at.
Well, you're in luck, because I just saw a report about 4 hours ago in the Manchester Evening News, Kylian Mbappé pushing PSG to sign Bernardo Silva. So they played together at Monaco, and I think he is absolutely the player. After Kolo Muani comes in, I think you go all in on Bernardo Silva, and you figure out what needs to happen to get a deal done. Completely agree with you. We're going to need someone. I know we talked about Ten and Lee maybe coming in and playing in that Neymar 10 role, potentially as being a creator, but I just don't know if he's done it at this level on the biggest stage in the Champions League. I would much rather have Bernardo Silva come in and take over that role. So I completely agree with everything you said there as far as players coming in. Well, fantastic. Well, Ten, we can let you go, but I just want to give you one more chance to just any other final thoughts and looking ahead to the week. Hopefully, some of these deals get done. But any final thoughts you want to share with us?
Yeah, I'm just really excited that Mbappe came back. You know, no matter what you think about the way he's handling his business and all this stuff, you know what? He's the captain of France. He's a Parisian born kid. I'm happy that he finally came to his senses and understood that he can't leave the club for free. You know, we all understand what the sport is about. You know, sometimes guys want different experiences, and that's okay. But you got to do it, you know, the right way, especially in a sport of football where players have, you know, basically an automatic no trade clause, and they basically can decide wherever they want to go. I'm in much of agreement with a lot of the changes that he wanted to see. You know, I'm very happy that a lot of them are taking shape, and I am so excited. And I put this on my Twitter. I'm so excited to see him with Enrique because I don't feel like we have seen Mbappe yet with an elite tactical attacking manager like Luis Enrique, who's renowned for his tactics and his attacking ability. So I think that he's going to be absolutely unstoppable. And just seeing him playing off Ramos, I feel bad for Toulouse to be honest with you because they're going to get to see Dembele and Mbappe in a bad mood after having not played in a month. It could get ugly for them, but I'm excited for it, and I'm thankful that he's back and we get to see him, you know, for at least 1 year, hopefully longer, because I don't believe it was announced how long that he's signing for, but he did pretty much indicate that he's not leaving for free.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. That'll be the next step. Is how many years is Mbappe going to sign up for? Is he gonna we're gonna have to do this all over again? But for now, I guess we'll just kick that can down the road. We're happy to have him. We're looking at it. A front three of Mbappe, Ramos, and Dembele is going to be fantastic, and be able to have a player like Colomwani to bring off the bench, and Kang in the lead is going to be there. So the depth is looking really good. The starters are looking really good. I love this new era of PSG. Very, very excited. So we'll have to look forward to next weekend when we get to see them all out on the pitch. But for now, we're just going to talk about all the speculation and rumors and players moving here and there and everywhere. And as always, PSG dominating the summer headlines. So anyway, Ten, thank you so much for joining. We'll have you on soon, and we'll get more of your thoughts on PSG. Take care. We'll talk again soon. All right, welcome in Lee Davey of TalkSport and Leagueon.com. It's been a while since we've had a chat about PSG. I'm so pleased to have you on. How have you been?
Really well, thanks, Ed. Good to be here. Nice to speak to you again. Boy, have we got a lot to talk about.
I know. Yeah, there's so much going on at PSG where we're joking before that, like, hopefully no breaking news happens as we're recording this. So we'll try to get through as much of the news that we already know as we can. Let's start with Kylian Mbappe because out of nowhere on Sunday, he was reinstated into the squad after being left out against Lorient over the weekend. So reports are that conversations are going well between him and the club and that a new contract potentially could be in the works. So what do you make of those developments with Mbappe? Because it's certainly not where many fans thought we were going to be at this point.
Yeah, I'd probably put myself in the bracket of fans that thought he would probably leave this summer, and eventually I thought Real Madrid would probably stump up the money towards the end of the transfer window. That doesn't appear to be happening. It seems like there's this big, huge U-turn that's happened, and obviously that's coincided with the potential outgoings of one or two, which I'm sure we will touch on a little bit later on. But yeah, it's something that really kind of appeared, certainly to us, to change overnight, didn't it? Around the time of the Lorient game at the weekend, and yeah, it looks like he's going to be. Well, he has already been integrated back into the team. I'm sure he'll be ready to go for Saturday's trip to Toulouse, and all of a sudden, a whole summer of conflict, a whole summer of difficulties, of headlines that you really don't want around the club, and all of a sudden he's kind of swept away in hours, and it's all changed and turned on its head. Welcome to Paris Saint-Germain, everybody.
Hollywood FC, right? Isn't that what they call us? What's interesting about the Mbappe story is that when it was announced he's coming back into the team and everything seems to be okay, that's when the Neymar rumors to the Saudi Pro League started to ramp up. So I want to get your thoughts on that because as we're seeing today, Fabrizio has said, here we go. It's pretty much a done deal. PSG are going to get probably just a little shy of 100 million euro for the transfer fee. Neymar's going to make astronomical money over there. What do you make of that relationship between Mbappe and Neymar? Do you think Mbappe pushed him out? What's going on there?
Look, I'm not kind of privy to the information. I can only assume or guess or kind of, read between the lines is like you, as most PSG fans do. But I think it's been clear to see that their relationship has definitely soured in the last 1 or 2 years. It wasn't that bromance from 2017, 2018, and these guys were dancing in goal celebrations and almost at times playing as a twosome, weren't they? There was times where they would just literally play between the two of them, collect a ball from Verratti, and it was just the two of them, and they were literally, just responsible for all PSG's goals for such a long period of time. And it appeared at some point as though, that was broken with the incoming of obviously Lionel Messi, and you know, we started to find that there was different cliques that were starting to happen within the squad. We had Mbappe who would veer off with Hakimi, and then you had Neymar and Messi and Verratti got close to those three, and all of a sudden you could see this real kind of this broken relationship between the pair. And at times recently there've been signs that there were a few high fives, a few comments, happy birthdays, etc. on social media, and there was times where you could see on the pitch that they would connect again, but it was always when Messi wasn't there, you could see that there was still something there of an understanding on the pitch, but clearly there's been something else going on behind the scenes, something peculiar. I don't know, and I don't want to speculate too much about Mbappe's role in the exit, in the impending exit of Neymar, but I wouldn't certainly rule it out at this stage due to Mbappe's incredible power that he has within the football club and influence within the football club. But and I've just recently seen, just before I've come on here, that Neymar is like to post, kind of outlining some of that information and that theory. So that's certainly his thinking. So I'm sure it'll all come out. I'm sure it'll all be laid bare very, very soon.
Yeah, just to kind of bring people up to speed, I saw the post. Zach Lowy posted that Neymar likes an Instagram post stating, "quote Last summer, Kylian Mbappe made it clear to PSG that there was no more room for him and Neymar in the same team." Coincidentally, on the day Neymar was practically announced at Al-Hilal, Mbappe returned to training, super happy. We saw him celebrating with his teammates. So, yeah, you hate to speculate, but it is awfully coincidental. You see Mbappe grinning ear to ear as Neymar is packing his bag. So make of that as you will. And we kind of joked that earlier. I said hopefully no breaking news happens, and this one comes from Fabrice Hawkins. Just if you could respond, Lee. The report says Marco Verratti has an agreement in principle with Al Hilal, but he has yet to give his final agreement. He's still wondering about whether to leave to Europe or join a Saudi Arabian team. Neymar is pushing, obviously, for him to go to the Saudi Pro League. Is it, from what we saw against Lorient, is that a big absence? If Verratti leaves, does that leave a big hole in the team, or do you like Ugarte in the midfield signings that we've made so far?
I think for me, I think that out of the two potential departures, I think the bigger loss is Neymar for me than Verratti, just purely because Verratti has, for me, it's had his best years at PSG, and I think it would be more of a nostalgia. I wouldn't say nostalgia, but I think it was more. It's more of a sentimental exit. Whereas he's been here since the start, pretty much the start of the project. So many appearances for the club, biggest appearance maker for the club, and it's just sad to see him kind of bow out this way. He's not going to get his farewell game. I think that's quite clear. But it's just kind of how it's just all quickly happened. You go back 12 months, and you would have never thought this would be the case. I mean, the guy's had about 15 um, contract extensions. He was only pretty much a year, 18 months ago, where he was declaring that he'd finish his career in Paris, and I don't think anybody expected this. So everything is kind of just turned around so quickly, and it's quite a lot for us all to get our head around. But however, with a clear head, I think now is probably the right time for him to go. If the club can get substantial funds for him, for a guy who's 30. I, I want to try and steer away from saying he's past his best. Maybe he just needs rejuvenating somewhere else. Maybe he just needs to reignite his career under a different manager in different surroundings at a different club. But it's a shame because I would have loved Marco to have seen his career out. But I can't say that from a footballing perspective that it's the wrong decision for him to leave. I do think the time has come for some players to be moved on, and I believe that now is the time for him to go. It's just a shame the circumstances that he's leaving, in my opinion. It would have been lovely to have had his big send-off in front of the park, huge applause, but it's not going to happen, as it doesn't with a lot of our legends, unfortunately.
I always, with Verratti, I always said, for the right transfer fee, and we should also say that the Saudi League has not come in with what I think is a reasonable bid for a player of Marco Verratti's quality. But with player sales, I always think that it should hurt a little bit when a player leaves. That's how you know you're sending them on at the right time. If you're happy to see them leave, it's probably because they've already stayed too long. So there's a lot of people, it sounds like you and other people, PSG fans on social media, are really sad that he's going. So for me, that kind of means that maybe this is the right time, because we do have really good midfielders coming in, and it just hasn't worked on the pitch with Verratti as the team accomplishing its goals. He's a fantastic player. If we could get, I'm thinking anything north of 60 million would be pretty good. I'd like to see more closer to 80, but it seems like Al-Hilal is a little bit far away from that figure. So we'll have to see how that one plays out, if he does decide to go there and not enjoy Neymar. What a team that'll be. I want to circle back to Kylian Mbappe, because if he does sign a new contract, how can PSG get some leverage back? What is a deal that you would want to see the club do with Mbappe if he is willing to stay? Because right now, Mbappe does have all that leverage. He could kind of do whatever he wants. He could leave on a free. How can the club protect itself in ongoing negotiations with Mbappe?
Well, this is the difficulty, isn't it? Because as we know, with clauses in France, those it's not the same as it is in Spain, for example. So certain clauses are forbidden. So PSG, it's a really difficult position to find themselves in. Ideally, they want a substantial transfer fee for him, and by doing that, by extending him to 2025, that gives Real Madrid, and we will say Real Madrid because they are the leading contenders. That's a club that if he's going to leave PSG, that he really wants to go to. He's got his heart set on them, so they're going to have a window next summer in which to purchase him for a specific amount of money. I don't. I think it's going to be more of the same, Ed. To be honest with you, I think it'll be a repeat this summer of next summer will be a repeat of what we've seen this summer. It will be Real Madrid in a position where they'll be mulling over what do we pay? Do we pay now, or do we leave it another year? If we leave it another year, we're back in the same position again. Get him on a free. Now that's dependent, obviously, on whether Kylian Mbappé is looking to extend anything past 2025. Otherwise, it's just going to be a repeat process. However, a lot will, judging by the Spanish press this morning, a lot will depend on how Real Madrid feel about him extending his contract, even for an extra couple of years, because, PSG they were adamant that he'd agreed a deal where he'd get a huge signing on fee for next summer. Whether that was the case or not, we still don't know. There's one thing about Kylian Mbappe is that he doesn't really say a lot. He doesn't give a lot away. He'll have a few cryptic messages on social media, but he's really not a guy for words, especially when it pertains to his contract. So it's an interesting one. And it wouldn't, anything can happen with this. It wouldn't also surprise me if Real Madrid next summer decided to walk away from the Mbappe transfer. That would not surprise me in the slightest. And for what it's worth, and I'm going to try not to digress, I don't even think Mbappe is the actual profile of a player that they really need to go for, because they've got that in Vinicius Jr., where it's more Erling Haaland is the type of profile with striker, number 9 box striker they're looking for, really and ideally, because so we'll see what happens with that. And with Haaland already won everything at Manchester City, I think there's a chance that Pep might call it a day there at the end of the season anyway. So for me, it will be interesting next summer. It might not be as clear cut as we think, and how long he signs this extension for, if he indeed does, will be quite telling as to what happens next season.
Yeah, you do have to wonder with Real Madrid. The image rights is always something with Mbappe. I don't know if they're willing to give him as much of a percentage as PSG have given him. And then, as you said, with the contract, if he's only going to sign at the most 2-year deals, is that something Real Madrid, do they want this headache? In addition to, they don't really, really need him. They need a pure striker. So it'll be interesting whether if the conversations are being had and Mbappe's like, you know what, this is my hometown club. Let me just stay here and win the Champions League where it would be more meaningful instead of moving on. And
I
if you
think
can
so.
hear if you can hear in the background, I think my neighbor is like sawing something in half. So I apologize if you can hear that in the background. We got a couple more for you, Lee. The scoreless draw against Lorient on Saturday was disappointing. But you've got Mbappe coming into the team, as we've discussed. Give me some predictions for the season. How good can this team be with Mbappe coming in under Luis Enrique? What are you expecting for the season?
Well, I mean, from I think at the start of the season, and before we kicked off on Saturday, I didn't really have any expectations. I remember speaking to one of my friends who's a PSG fan based in Paris, and I said to him, "I just want to win. I just want to win Ligue 1." To be honest, this season, I know that sounds crazy, but even if we did win Ligue 1, and let's say we won the Coupe de France, that's progress on last season. And, for me, even if we just win Ligue 1, but we develop a style of football, and I think we can see that that's happening already. We develop an identity on the pitch. That for me would be a positive season. I'm not expecting a lot in the Champions League. Um, yeah, I suppose that's the case most seasons for me now anyway. But I'm not expecting much in the Champions League, but I do want this team to kind of be re-energized, reignited, and to develop some of its personality back because specifically last season, the last couple of years have been really difficult to watch. So League and title, most definitely, and hopefully a few less headlines. So this team can just go out on the pitch and do what they do best, play football, and slowly start to grow in a team which is a lot less bling bling, as NASA puts it, and we can have a team that we're really proud of because. As I said, it's been a difficult watch the last couple of years, especially with so much talent. We're going to not have so much stranglehold over us in regards to financial fair play. So hopefully, going forwards, we've got a little bit more leverage to buy the types of players that we need in the transfer windows. But also, we've got some balance in that team now, and we've lacked that hugely for the last few years. So I'm really pleased with what business has been done so far. I'm really pleased with what I've seen at the weekend, with the exception of not being able to make too many clear-cut chances. I think we had 4 shots on target. But for me, it didn't ever look like PSG were going to score at the weekend. Even from the first 10 minutes, I looked at the screen, I thought this has got 0-0 written all over it. And, Mbappe coming in, Dembele coming in, there's still, 2.5 weeks left of the transfer window left. So we've still plenty can be done. We know that so much can happen in such a short period of time at this football club, and hopefully a bit more business in, and this team can get back to winning ways this weekend. But a league and title, as I said, is first and foremost what I want from this club this season, and anything else will come as a bonus.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we could win Ligue 1 by more than 1 point. Marseille certainly have strengthened this season. I think they're going to be our
Yep.
biggest competitor in the league this season. So yeah, I agree with you. It would be nice to get out of the round of 16 of the Champions League, but that's sort of like icing on top of the cake. If we could just take care of things domestically, we'll see how things pan out in the Champions League. There's a lot of luck involved. It all comes down to who you draw, and who's healthy at that time. So we'll see what happens.
Will be nice.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what will be nice. We'll be going into a Champions League season with no expectations of winning it.
Yes.
And that will hopefully just calm the players down a little bit, that pressure that's been there to win this Champions League. Now we've got a team which was a little less star-studded. Hopefully now we can just relax. You might see, a decent performance, or you might see a team that might actually go and do something in the Champions League without that pressure.
It's not unlike Chelsea, right? I think the last time they won under Tuchel, no one expected them to do anything. Sometimes having that pressure off of you makes a world of difference.
Yeah.
Lee, I got one more question for you. You've kind of alluded to it in transfers. I want you to address something. I just got a tweet. I don't know, maybe a Neymar fan, but it kind of brings up a good point. Because I had tweeted out maybe bringing in a Bernardo Silva, maybe a more high-profile player in the transfer window, and they said no one is coming to PSG after what happened to Neymar. Can you maybe address that? Is that an issue you think PSG is going to have moving forward? And then after that, what signings would you like to see PSG make before the close of the transfer window?
I don't think so. I don't think PSG will naturally be some players' first choice, but they certainly won't struggle in attracting players. It's a very attractive football club now, more than it's ever been. And I thank people like Lionel Messi, I thank Neymar, for making this club far more attractive for players to want to come and play their football. Um, the one, for me, I feel that you know Bernardo Silva, in terms of transfers, would be the one that I would love to get in because we're losing an absolute creative genius in Neymar. Yes, he didn't play a lot of football, but we're losing so much creativity with him. Assists, just that ability to get you up off your seat. And it's such a shame that injuries have really hampered his time at Paris, but we need somebody who can, maybe not to the same level, but somebody who can, again, just unlock defenses, create something out of nothing. And that's what we really lacked on Saturday. I think we could all see that we lacked somebody that could just, you know, just open a defense out of nothing and just that one piece of magic in the 90th minute. We've lost that. We've lost that in Messi. We've lost that in Neymar. We need somebody who can bring that in. Bernardo Silva for me would be the one. I think it'll be difficult. I've never been completely convinced that Abu Dhabi would want to sell one of their assets to Qatar, and we will see. We will see. Look, everybody's got his price, and we know that Bernardo Silva doesn't. He's looking to get away from Manchester City. We know that his ideal place is Barcelona, but they've got no money. They're going to have to offload a lot of players to be able to get him. So we'll see. I wouldn't rule it out completely, but we'll see what happens towards the end of the window, especially with these funds that are likely to come in from Neymar, from Verratti, and a need for a real kind of a creative genius in that team. So I would like to see that happen.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the transfers, what PSG had to spend. I think Ugarte was their biggest signing at 60 million euro. I mean, after everything, Verratti, Neymar, everything balances out. I mean, PSG, their net spend isn't going to be too high. So you would think that they could go and get a high profile player like Bernardo Silva. The question is Manchester City going to sell? Love to have Kevin De Bruyne. If we could just clone him and sign it, that is the exact type of player that PSG needs right now. And
Absolutely.
then you could win the Champions League, I think. So we'll have to see how this all plays out. Colomwani is rumored. Barcola at Lyon is potential. I love Thuram at Nice. He's potentially a player you can bring in the
Yeah.
midfield. They're seeing Chiesa, Juventus is a possibility, and Ibrahim Sangare. So those are the players that are kind of being rumored right now as potential transfer targets. So, Lee, thank you so much. Before we let you go, any final comments to put a bow on the Mbappe, Neymar, Verratti transfer saga? Anything you want to say?
Yeah, I think for me, just really sad to see Neymar leaving this way. I remember in 2017 when he signed, the excitement of all PSG fans that we was getting one of the truest, most incredible talents in world football. And for me, he is still out there as probably the most silkiest, skillfulest players on the planet. Sadly we don't have too many of these artists left in the game, and I will say that 6 years it hasn't gone to plan at times, but he's left us with some incredible memories. He really, really has, and I wish him all the best. It's just a shame the way it's ended, but it's a situation that needs to probably end now, and he can go on and do what he wants to do, and and begin his career elsewhere. And PSG is quite clearly going in a completely different direction.
Mm-hmm.
But absolute pleasure to watch him play on TV in the flesh, and absolutely wish him all the best.
Club legend for you?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of people debating that on Twitter. I think
Absolutely.
I'm with you. Club legend. Yeah. So it's going to be sad to see Neymar go. It's not official yet. We haven't had an announcement from the club, but we all expect that this week will be the week that Neymar leaves PSG. Unfortunately, you're going to be leaving us now, but we hope to have you on throughout the season. So hopefully you can join us. So thank you so much for your time, and we'll let you go. Appreciate it. Thanks, Lee.
Thank you.